imagine that selection now becomes a little bit interesting because you've got options and maybe not enough position to put those options in. So what are you going to do there?
Look, it's been a challenge in the last couple of weeks. We're fortunate position. We've got a number of guys performing really well in our SANFL side, but our AFL side's performing well. So we manage that as best we can. It's important the guys who are in SANFL still continue to press their claims and play really strong footy, which they have been. So history tells me that we'll need them at some stage through the year, and we want them in good form when the opportunity presents.
Is it as simple as Cameron for Millera?
That's one option. Yeah, that's one option. I mean, Knight's been played 2 weeks ago, so he's in there as well. So there's a few different options at match committee.
How about Menzel? Is he still a little bit way off, or you think he's a chance?
He's starting to push up. Some of his recent form's been good. He's starting to play the style of footy that we want him to play at SANFL level. So he's making good progress.
Is he back to full fitness now? Has he been firing? You had the week off last week.
Yeah, we had a bye last week, which wasn't ideal in terms of prep. But his game the week before that against Woodville West Torrens was really strong. He's back playing the way that we know Charlie can play, which was pleasing, and he finished his work with 4 goals. So it was a good performance.
Is Crouch likely to return this week?
I'll wait and see with Brad. We have a training session tomorrow, so we'll have to see how it comes up after that, and whether we play him this week or give him another week. We'll assess after we had a run tomorrow.
So you went okay yesterday?
Yeah, he was fine yesterday.
Yeah.
Is it frustrating for a bloke like Crouchy? I mean, around the club, he's missed so many games over a short career. How does he respond to that sort of challenge, I guess?
Look, yeah, it's obviously not ideal for him. He'd prefer to be available and playing, and had a really solid start to the year after a little hiccup. But we've just got to look at the big picture, and we've got a guy that we think can be a player for us for a number of years, and so we've got to manage him accordingly.
I know Wayne's young, but is it a loss to lose him? What does he add to the team?
Yeah, well, look, Wayne's come in and as you would have seen, provides a real energy and some spark and so forth. So to miss him for the week, it's disappointing for him. But as I've said along, we don't sort of rely on any individual, and so whoever comes in will take over that role and put a good performance on the board, I'm sure.
Don, there's a lot said about Hawthorn, and when you win 3 consecutive premierships, that's pretty much predictable. But what do you see in them as to what is important to you and the Adelaide Footy Club, and what's got to be shown on the big stage on Friday night?
Look, I think you've got an opportunity to play against, as you said, a really highly regarded opponent that's got a great record of success. And that's it in a nutshell. They play a really well-balanced style of footy, experienced group of players who've played together for a long time. So it's a great challenge, and one which we look forward to.
But what does it bring out in Adelaide?
Well, it'll bring out the way we want to play, and that's it. I mean, we'll go over there with a clear direction of how we want to play, understanding what Hawthorn's strengths and weaknesses are, and that's no different to any opposition. We did that last week against Sydney, and we'll do that the following week. So, but the sort of the foundation of how we want to play won't change. We'll adapt and we'll be flexible to how Hawthorn play, and we'll recognise where they're strong, and we'll bring our game.
So when we're all looking to see what Adelaide is, and we've had a month of it, what's got to really stand up on Friday night?
I think every phase of our game has to stand up. As I've said since day dot, that's what we've been trying to educate our players on, train our players on, is our ability to play really strong, positive footy in all phases of the game. And that has to stand up on Friday night.
And how important is that consistency to carry on the way you played last week to this Friday night?
That's what it's about. I mean, each week is a different challenge, and there's no easy challenges in this game. And we've got a great challenge on Friday night, but the consistency of effort that the guys have to bring, and the way we want to play, and their individual performance has been important to get us to the stage we're at now, and we'll continue. It's the nature of this game. You don't get you get nothing. This week we start with 0-0 against 0-0. So it's what you can create on the night.
Don, you had a role last year in the grand final to pick apart Hawthorn. How have they evolved from then to what we're seeing so far this year? Much change, you see?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of change, not significant. Again, it's still a small sample size, and they've brought in some new players and some fresh players, so they've got some new fresh energy around their group as well. But they do a lot right, so they're not going to change an awful lot. The challenge is to be able to counteract that and play, as I said, the way we want to play.
Don, you made a big focus about what we'd learned in history about defence in teams, particularly towards premiership sides. You had to rethink that, particularly the way you're being scored against, and maybe that's just a reflection on the competition rather than you.
Yeah, no, look, I think there's been a subtle shift this year. Again, we're still 4 weeks in, so it's only a small sample size. It probably takes a bit longer for that to cement in whether that change is permanent. And that said, there's still areas of our defence that we want to tighten up. I'm not sitting here saying that we've mastered any areas of our game. We've still got a lot of room for improvement, and that's what we're striving for.
A lot of teams talk about earning the respect of the competition. Do you think you're getting the respect you deserve, or you've earned enough of that respect?
It's not really for me to say. I mean, all we are is accountable for and responsible for how we play, and that's the same on Friday night.
There's an interesting note about Adelaide v Hawthorn with Eddie Betts, and that he doesn't score big against them, and Stratton does play well against him. Do you rethink how you use Eddie Betts? Do you put him in that centre square again and change that up, or how you operate?
That's one of the benefits of having a player like Eddie who can play in a number of positions, is that we can need to be no different than any player. Need to be flexible in terms of the roles he can play. But again, does history naturally repeat itself? Not necessarily.
Do you give any advice, particularly after what happened last year, where Hawthorn seems to have an intent to rough him up?
Look, we'll probably discuss it with him, but again, it's not a primary focus. I think Eddie's in really good form. He's in a really good, positive frame of mind, and he brings that to the game on Friday night. So he'll be aware of that, but hopefully it's not going to be a dictating factor on the game.
Do you look at last year's semi-final loss, or is that ancient history against Hawthorn?
Oh, it's in the past. I mean, there's obviously some things on that day that didn't work. I wasn't here for a start, so there's a change in maybe a slight change in focus and bits and pieces. So, not significantly, no.
Don, obviously your forward line's got a lot of attention. Just with your defence, there's a nice little blend of experience and a bit of youth there. Are you happy with how that's evolving, and what's pleased you most about that?
Yeah, you're right. It is evolving. It's continued to evolve, which is great. They're building a really good, strong relationship and bond between those guys down there. And history tells me again that the best backline groups have that unique connection. And that's probably been the most pleasing part, is that they're getting a real feel for how each other play. They're building a real level of trust in how they play, and hopefully they continue to build that on the way through.
It's hard to get one of those with his kick. He's been maligned for his skills, but it seems like he's corrected that part of his game.
Oh, I don't know about corrected. I think it's probably more he's now taking some clearer options that he's comfortable with, and we've worked a lot with the whole squad in terms of their option taking and execution, and Cole's maybe one who's benefited from some of that stuff. So it's pleasing to see that he's confident, he's kicking the ball well.
Just to ask you a couple of big picture questions. Grand final replay, are you for or against?
As for or for the extra time?
Yeah, well, if you had your way, what would you do?
Yeah, I think
it's as simple as that.
I think extra time is the way to go. And I think that allows the people who turn up to that game to get a result. It probably means that the teams who are preparing for it find out one way or another on that day the best team.
And on taking the game offshore, are you for it? Playing games overseas?
I haven't given it significant thought, to be honest, Michelangelo.
Don, just that one with the golden score. Would you prefer it to be a goal once the extra time's run out and it's sort of roll the dice?
Yeah, I probably would lean towards a golden goal than golden score. I guess I'd hate to see a grand final maybe decided by a rush point, for instance. So, yeah, golden goal probably makes more sense to me. But again, the 5 minutes extra time will probably yield a result anyway, and then it's a matter of a score after that. So I think it's only happened 3 times in history, so maybe won't get to that stage.
Sort of harp back on something earlier, but just wanted to sort of get it simple in my mind. By the end of Friday night, what do you want to have seen or known about your team?
For me, it's about, are we still improving? Are we continue to improve? Understanding that, as I said, we want to play a well-rounded game, and we want to play positive footy. We've been able to do that. Pretty much it, and our consistency.
Is there an opportunity to send a message to the competition, we can play the big stage away from home? Is he hoping?
Yeah, I don't really consider that. no, for us it's a game. We've recovered, we prepare, we'll plan, and then we'll get ready to play, and then we'll measure our performance after that.